Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting and sight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on conceal carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Hey, Freedom Nation, this is Pete Mitchell.
And I'm Dan Sams.
And sorry, man, I can't get over what I see you wearing.
I almost said, instead of my name today, I almost said, and I'm wearing a bulletproof vest. And
it's killing me, man. First of all, let's talk about the morale patches.
Yeah, well, I just had patches laying around, so I threw them on there, and I actually meant to take those off before I got on camera. So, yeah, I got my joiner die, I got my don't tread on me. Roaring Shepherd is kind of like tagline that I use on a bunch of things. There's a whole story for it. And that patch doesn't fit on anything else. So, yeah, these are my patches. And then I've got my Firearms Policy Coalition on the back, Velcro. It's good times. Mostly I'm just trying to put as many patches on this. The only reason I got this vest was put patches on it. I mean,
that's the only reason why we buy anything is put patches on it.
Life-saving, stopping bullets is really secondary to looking cool with all my awesome patches.
What's funny is I literally just bought a packet of like 25 patches off of Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
I bought I got for Christmas. I shouldn't say I bought it. I got for Christmas a cool tactical shirt that's got place for the patches on the arms. So I needed some more patches for it. And it was funny because when it came in the mail, I go, all right, now, hun, let me explain to you. There are a lot of patches here that I would never wear in public, but it comes in a packet. So I kind of have to take those with the ones that I really wanted. And she's like, okay. And so I start going through and she's like, those are all fine. I go, yes, those are all the ones I would wear. Let me show you the ones I would never wear. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, yeah, see, as a Christian, also as a guy who does conceal carry, there are certain patches I wouldn't wear because they will be used against you at trial.
Yeah.
Like that cop who had, your effed on his plate or what was that? What's that piece called? The
dust cover.
The dust cover.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that was used against him. And the only reason why he got off is because he's a cop. Because if any of us had that and shot somebody, we'd be doing life right now.
Exactly right.
So,
yep.
So there are certain patches that I won't wear because,
and plenty of vulgar ones that,
And I was telling her too, I go, if you have to act like you're a badass, then you're not really a badass. So there are certain ones where it's just like, okay, you sound like an idiot because that basically what you're telling me is you're not really that bad of a guy.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like the guy who wears a plate carrier while he's recording a podcast. He's not that tough.
It looks like you got like a string hanging up in the back. It looks like you got a radio antenna sticking up from the back.
That is my radio antenna. Yeah. So yeah, I've got the Baofeng all hooked up on the side, ready to rock and roll. Got my little push to talk. It really is embarrassing. But let me just tell you,
so is that how you answer the door when the FedEx guy shows up?
No, I take this off if I'm outside because I'm like, doing stuff outside. Like it legitimately is a little bit of a workout, which is part of why I've been wearing it around. I took the tree down the other day and I wore it. And I'm like, going up and down steps. I'm getting workouts that I don't normally get. So I do recommend it for that. And then I was climbing around in the attic and I'm like, what kind of small spaces can I get into? But when like somebody drives by and I'm outside, I'm like, I actually don't want to look like I'm some kind of an ATF agent raiding my own house. so I'm kind of like, I'm going to hide behind the car until this car goes by.
See, the patch that I would get for it, if I were you, is I would get EMS.
Ooh, good idea.
Because then you look like you're official without breaking the law. Yeah, because if you put police on there, now you're impersonating an officer. You can get into trouble for that.
That's right.
But if it's got EMS, I don't think that's illegal. And you might even be an EMS for all I know, all the stuff you've taken. So,
this is not a bad idea. I like this. I don't know that there's anything illegal about impersonating a
I don't think there is, right? I mean, it's EMS, right? And then you could actually like show up at the scene somewhere and they'd like flag you through because you look like you're supposed to be there.
I'm imagining the medical care I would give. I think his blood sugar is low. Do we need a diabetes repairman?
Give him an aspirin. Give him an aspirin. Aspirin solves everything.
That's right.
You might have to then lay off the join or die or,
Yeah, I probably should take some of those off anyway. I need to run this slick, but when I'm walking around the house, I don't care.
See, one of the patches I put on my new shirt, it's my mom thinks I'm special. And I just like that one. I just think that's funny.
That's awesome.
So,
that's awesome. Well, I tell you, here's what's funny. I've got this little flashlight on here. This thing has come, and I'm like, I love having all the gear like right here. So I'm crawling around in my attic, and I'm like, man, I wish I had a flashlight. And I'm like, oh wait, it's awesome.
Wait, I've got a flashlight.
Pocket knife here. Seriously, like I'm using all my gear already. It's good times. Nice. It's real good times. So speaking of gear, can I talk about some fun stuff that I got for Christmas, man?
Let's hear it, man.
I actually got some really good gear. My wife signed me up for a battle box subscription, which I kind of like these guys. They do. I don't know if you've ever seen the Netflix show Southern Survival. Kind of funny, but their whole thing is they do a gear subscription, but they're actually curating the content that's going in these boxes, and it's good stuff. There has not been one bit of filler in there. I've got 2 boxes so far. None of them have I said, oh, I don't need this. Every one of those things has been assimilated in my kit somehow, either in a bug out bag or some other tactical gear. So for instance, my wife got me this, oh man, and I'm going to forget the name of it, but this knife that fits into MOLLE webbing, clicks in. It's a little Kydex style sheath for the knife with a click in. All goes onto my my MOLLE webbing. Really easy, solid knife. Can opener and glass breaker on the back. Let me forget who makes it. Hold on. It's a Buri knife, Buri. And I'm really digging it, man. A couple of other fun things, a little thing for making cordage out of plastic 2-liter bottles, which I thought was fun. Some, reflective 550 cord, some other stuff like that. And it's just a couple of like training stuff, some survival guide things. Everything I've gotten so far, I've been able to say this is quality gear. This is not filler. Some of it's a little gadgety, but it's fun gadgety. It's like little C clamps that hook on, and then you can pull your 550 cord through it, and it'll tighten it. So I can use 550 like a bungee. All kinds of cool stuff like that. I'm gonna actually kind of recommend it. I actually figured that the battle box stuff would be fun but gimmicky, and I have used every bit of it so far. Nice. I mean, some of it I've used it in my house screwing around, but there's not one bit of it that I'm like, forget this. Everything. Even there's just a little basic pocket knife here, this Lord and Field denim knife. Solid little pocket knife. You never can have too many of them. It's just been good. So good times there. And then also, I finally picked up the Walther PPS, man, and got together with my neighbor, who I found out is a listener. It's a cool thing when you're talking to your buddy, and I'm talking about this or that, and I mentioned the podcast, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know, I listen." And I'm like, "That's awesome." So a shout out to my neighbor. I don't know if he wants me to mention his name. Leroy needs more friends. What's so Leroy? It's Leroy. We'll call him Leroy Senior. Leroy Senior and I got together. He's got an indoor range. We got to do some shooting, so I tested out
indoor range.
Oh yeah,
how nice. Yeah,
I have referenced my name. Man, I seriously have the best neighbor. And he's just wonderful. So helps me out with so much stuff. Reloads, does all kinds of wonderful things. But he's got it's like a kind of a backstop that is on like this gigantic easel. And it's, I assume it's some kind of an AR 500 steel on it. But it's designed to make your own little indoor range. And so sets it up. He's got a nice little target that he puts on the front of it, and it catches the bullets in there. You don't want to miss because then you're shooting a hole in the side of the building. But he doesn't miss. I didn't miss that I know of while I was out there. But it's pretty nice. So we shot the pistols, had a little bit of scotch afterwards. It was a good time, man. So it was good. So thank you for the chance to shoot, the good fellowship, and shout out to my neighbor who is.
What caliber is your new Walther?
9mm.
Okay,
that's the other thing. Again, bragging on my wonderful neighbor. Man, he hooked me up with some 9mm ammo. So we're shooting. I'm like, 9mm. This is like gold. And he's like, here you go. Let's shoot some of this stuff. And he had some nice reloads, and he had some Wolf ammo. He's like, let's shoot up the Wolf. And then he's like, yeah, but see how the reloads shot through it. And I tell you what, everything cycled through it. I probably ran 3 or 4 different kinds of ammo, some reloads, everything cycled through this thing. Actually, I've got it right here. Turned out great. Cycles well, does a good job. You can kind of see the grips on the Walther, man. That ergonomic grip just does the job. First time I shot the thing, I'm as accurate as I've been with any pistol. And not that saying that that's very accurate, but that's the beauty of the Walthers, man. So feeling good. I like my new conceal, big enough that I can carry it as a sidearm if I want to. I'm happy. I'm happy about it.
Nice. I got, I'm in the final stage of my 10-day purgatory here in California.
Oh yeah.
That's what we call it when you buy a firearm. Doesn't matter, private party or from a dealer, we got to wait 10 days. Doesn't matter if you're a CCW and they know you got a basic arsenal at your house. You got to wait 10 days. So tomorrow I get to pick up my Glock 48. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Good time.
That's for those of you that don't know, that is the single stack 9mm that Glock recently came out with. They came out with it. I want to say, I think it was Canada that needed the Glock 19 to have a slightly longer barrel for it to be legal for something up there. I can't remember what it was because it's Canada. Most everything's not illegal or not legal up there. So I believe it's slightly longer on the barrel than your Glock 19. Of course, it's thinner, which is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I don't like being limited to 10 rounds, which is what it is. And there are extensions that you can get, but in California, those are now illegal to purchase. So,
yeah. So
until we win in the courts, we can't buy any real magazines.
Well, are you planning on carrying an appendix? Is that why you don't going with the thinner one?
I don't know if I'll carry appendix or not. I was actually looking at some appendix holsters. I see the problem with me is I would buy an appendix holster, but it's going to run me like $75 to get the one I want. And then I'm like, but I carry my Glock 19 most of the time, and it's not going to work with that holster. So then do I spend another $75 to carry that appendix? So I did buy an inside the waistband holster for it, which normally I carry in the 3 o'clock position right now. So I'm like, worst case scenario, I can still carry in the 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's still, you can do a pretty fast pull from 3 o'clock, man.
That's how I train too. So I would have to retrain and spend a lot of time in the range drawing from the appendix to, be cool with that.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that though, man. I think you might find with as much training as you're doing shooting at the 3 o'clock, you might be better off to keep it at that anyway, just because you're so used to that.
And that was my other thought too, was, I originally started losing all that weight because I wanted to carry appendix. And now I'm like, yeah, but I trained so much from the 3 o'clock. I don't know if I just keep it there or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I went from 4 o'clock position to carrying appendix, and there's no question I'm faster on the draw from appendix. I am. I've tested myself. I've checked myself. I'm just faster. And if with something like this, where I've got the shorter barrel on the thing, it is not terrible, and I've got a little bit of a cant to it. It is not terribly uncomfortable, unless my pants have sagged and it just hit me just wrong. It's not too uncomfortable for me to carry this one ready to rock on the appendix. But I've had a couple where, depending on the holster, or if the barrel's a little bit longer, it just hits me in places I don't want it to hit.
Sure, of course.
You know what I mean? Or I feel like I have to always be lean in my seat. So, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Just no fun. So, yeah, but this one's not too bad. So that was another reason why I went with what I did, is because I've got that holster, the holster, the barrel, everything just hits just where it needs to without causing me too much discomfort.
Yeah. And see, I could do that obviously with my inside the waistband holster, but yeah, I don't know. I think there are other holsters I would rather use for an appendix carry. But I figure I'm a ways off from needing to make that decision. Because see, here in California, you can't carry a gun until it's literally been listed by serial number on your concealed carry permit. So I got to go get qualified on it, which will be no problem. Like, it's no problem for people who don't shoot to get qualified.
Yeah. Just a headache, though.
Yeah, it's one more step that you got to take. Then you got to send it into the sheriff. Then they got to send you back the new paperwork. Pay your fees, whatever. So, but yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, man. Tomorrow I should be able to pick it up.
Cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it'd be exciting.
Yeah,
and it's in. Do you have some 9mm to shoot in it?
I do have plenty of 9mm. I do have 9mm. We'll just leave it at that.
You're going to have to go into the stash a little bit.
Well, everything's going into the stash right now, right? Because it's like, oh, do I really want to shoot this or not? I've actually been thinking about doing some training classes using my 45, just because I got a bunch of 45 ammo that I rarely ever shoot, because mostly what I shoot is 9mm.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I got all this 45. In fact, I got a whole bunch of 40. I'm like, you know what? I should just go put the 40 upper on my Glock 19 and just go shoot that. Mm-hmm. But haven't yet. So
that might be worth. Burn up some 40. It's funny what a time we're in where it seems easier to get 40 and 45. I mean, nothing's easy right now.
Right.
But, oh man, what a time! And it doesn't look like.
One of my buddies, he makes a lot of ammo. So he's a reloader, right?
Yeah.
And his office, I was over there a few months ago. They've got, I don't know, like 5 or 6 Dillons all set up. The full automated one. I think it's like the 1050 or something like that. I mean, the one where he just hits the button and it'll put out 1,000 rounds and that's all he's got to do. And so he's a tech wizard, right? Like he's that's what he does for a living, and he's a tech wizard. So he's in some Discord group, sorry.
Oh, there now I'm following you. I'm like, Discus.
Yeah, sorry. Discord group. I've only used it a few times myself. And somebody wrote a bot that's constantly searching all of the sites, Brownells, etc. And soon as primer or soon as whatever element they're looking for becomes available, it tells them, hey, it's now available over here on this site. And so they can all go buy it real quick. And that's how he's been able to buy all of his reloading equipment, or all the raw elements that he needs. Yeah.
I might need to get back on Discord. They were back during the worst stages of the riots. I was following a Discord group where you could jump on by city and follow the hashtag to know if there was rioting happening near you.
Oh, interesting.
And it was actually kind of and so guys were reporting by state and city on what was happening. It was kind of handy. But man, to be able to be on there and have somebody running a bot and let me know when primers were available. Because I tell you what, man, I was talking to somebody at church yesterday. Nobody can find primers right now, man.
Yeah.
It is. And the supply issue does not look to be resolved anytime soon. We are not talking about, I mean, maybe not in 2021. I mean, we might be next year. We might be this time next year before we're like, oh, now my 9mm is back down to a reasonable price.
And that's assuming we don't have war between now and then.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Somebody posted, these memes where somebody's thought about
Hey man, are you still there? You're breaking up.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
No, I can't. Sorry.
That was weird. Everything was fine, and then all of a sudden you couldn't hear me. Dang it, they're listening.
Well, it could be my internet. I had to go on wireless today because I think my dog unplugged the wired internet. So it could be me.
It could be me too, man. It's been kind of funky here. The internet just in general. Northeast Ohio internet is just bad anyway, but yeah, no, what was I saying? I'm fearful that the guys that are stockpiling ammo are not necessarily the guys that are going to be helpful.
Use it?
Yeah. I'm afraid that they're going to be the ones like, okay, I guess I'll just turn this in since you doing the buyback program.
I don't think anyone on the planet who stocks ammo, even the most liberal of liberals, is going to turn in their ammo because that's their private stash.
I'm maybe more than turn in. I'm concerned they're just going to do nothing.
Do nothing. I could see. Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of. And so I'm like, well, if you're going to sit on ammo, give it to people who are going to defend themselves and their families with it. So,
man, I really hope it doesn't end up there. I really hope it doesn't end up there.
It is.
What do you think is going to happen? You think Trump is still going to make a stink and not leave office?
I don't know if he's going to not leave office, but something's weird. I don't know. The whole thing is weird. I don't think he's going to not leave office, but man, there's more senators saying that they're not going to validate the electoral college vote. I don't blame them, but I'm also like, what are you guys actually going to do?
I don't think they're going to do anything. I mean, it's been done before, usually by Democrats. And it's like, okay, so this is the first time we've got Republicans doing it. That's why it's all this big hoopla.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen.
I don't think anything's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're running their machine, man, on both ends of it. And so I don't think anything's going to happen. It's just, I'm pretty honest about the fact that I haven't really, I don't put any hope in our electoral process anymore. And so that's just kind of where I'm at on it. So like, they've lost the respect of the whatever generation I am. I don't know if I'm an Xer. I'm not a millennial, but guys like me that I actually learned civics. Maybe it was because I went to a private school, and there are things, and I'm like, well, hey, wait a minute, it's not supposed to be like that, and nobody cares. And so I'm like, well, so basically everything I learned about the Constitution and how things are supposed to be run, we're just not doing that. So I'm like, okay, well, this is not what I signed up for. So what are we even doing here? And so the level of, it's not apathy, but lack of respect for what's happening is just so low. I'm just like, all right, so you guys aren't following the rules we all agreed on. So why should I pay taxes? No, I'm paying taxes, just to make it very clear. I'm paying taxes, but I think a lot of us are just like, why are we even bothering with any of this crap? Because we're not running this country in a constitutional way at all.
Yeah. What's funny to me is we got, for the first time ever, California had a net loss of people, 70,000. And so they're talking about, okay, so, that means we're going to lose one electoral vote and one member in the House. And I'm like, well, that just means they're going to figure out how to get rid of like the one of 5 House representatives that's a Republican. They're going to figure out a way to axe that person. I mean, so it's just like, great. But I'm also very fearful about everybody who's now moving to all these other states. Like Austin, everyone knows Austin is basically a mini California. Yep. So if you want to move from California to a free state, but still be in a liberal area, you move to Austin. And I'm like, dude, what happens when they start infecting all these other states with their liberal ideas and then those states turn blue?
Yeah. Because the reality is what's happening in both of these people leaving California, and I understand to some degree they're leaving New York and some other places. They're totally functioning related to how they feel. it's like, I don't like this, and so I'm gone. And I'm like, well, you're right not to like the high taxes and everything like that, but very few are thinking through the economic realities that led them there. Right. Very few are have ever considered how the free market's supposed to work, and so then they just go and vote the way they've always voted. And so if you talk to people in kind of the rural areas of Oregon, people in Idaho that are, getting the spillover of people from California, and they're like, we wish these clowns would just stay where they were at, because they're coming over here and they're voting like they always have. And they're just spreading the sickness of liberalism.
Right.
And yeah, but man, we got this whole thing where we still let people vote even though they don't own land. You got to do something about that.
People don't realize that was actually what it was in the Constitution. You had to be a landowner to vote, because landowners were the ones that had a vested interest.
Exactly.
If you didn't own land, you didn't have a real vested interest.
Exactly right. Yep.
It should go back to that.
I am totally for that.
But that would lead to another type of civil war.
Yeah.
The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. We don't even have a vote now, blah, blah, blah.
I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't mind being limited on, I wouldn't mind having less money, given that it's all, fake printed money anyway. It's not even printed. They just drop it in my account, right? Usually in somebody else's. They drop it in Pakistani gender studies program accounts, is where they're actually dropping the money. But I'm like, if I could collect rainwater and I could, essentially run my land like a farm that I could live off of, I could deal with a little less money. Wouldn't mind that at all.
Nice.
Yeah. So we were going to talk a little bit about this thing that happened in Texas. You don't have the article up there, do you?
I do.
Yeah. So give us the rundown. I know a lot of us saw the headlines. We saw that there was a shooting at a church in Texas yesterday. We don't know a lot of details, but you had mentioned to me that it looks like he was shot with his own gun.
Yeah, that was, to me, the really disturbing part here. So headline is Texas pastor killed in church shooting. Texas pastor killed in church shooting identified. Police say suspect hid in bathroom overnight. So authorities, they were chasing this guy. He made his way into a church. He hid in the bathroom. And then Mark Allen McWilliams, 62, was killed, and 2 other people were injured when this person, Maitrez, I'm going to totally butcher his name. I think it's Maitrez Woolen, 21, allegedly grabbed McWilliams' firearms and began shooting at Starville Methodist Church. So apparently, McWilliams, 62-year-old guy, walks into the church. No one else was there. I guess there were like 4 people there. They went in there. The guy's supposedly been hiding out somewhere around since 2 a.m. in the bathroom. He must have walked into the bathroom, sees this guy there, pulls out his firearm, which since I think it was 2017 church shooting there in Texas, Texans are now allowed to carry a firearm in places of worship, whereas they were banned before, which is ridiculous to me. Again, gun-free zones just make it easier for people with guns to kill you. I mean, makes no sense whatsoever. Sees the guy. I think he tells him to get down on the ground, but gets distracted.
Oh, dear.
And then the guy takes his gun away from him and then ends up killing him with it and shooting a couple other people.
Man.
So to me, it keeps coming back to, you pull your firearm when you're going to be pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Like whatever has happened is so bad. You are in fear for your life. You're in fear for the life of someone else. You pull the gun and you shoot. It's a situation I hope I never have to be in, because it's going to be life altering. Like here in California, you're going to jail. I mean, I don't care if it was a good shoot, quote unquote. In California, you're going to jail for some time, at least overnight, probably longer than that. because they hate citizens defending themselves here in California.
Yeah. They would rather you die.
They would. Yeah, absolutely.
They really would.
Because it fits the gun bad story. If you defend yourself with a gun, well, then maybe gun not so bad, maybe person bad. And that doesn't fit with anything.
Yeah.
But the whole, I mean, let's just say you walk into a church, you see somebody's hiding out there. How do you handle that situation? I don't know if the guy was verbally confrontational.
Yeah. But
my gut just says, hey, dude, you're obviously not supposed to be here. You need to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been hiding out. I'm assuming you're up to no good because I just opened up the church. Unless you're planning on staying for the service, you need to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it sounds from the way, and again, as you mentioned, we don't know the details here, but what we do know is he pulled his gun without firing, which probably means when he pulled his gun, he didn't need to be pulling his gun yet. Probably like
it was probably an idea of I'm going to hold this guy here until the cops get here.
Yeah, and you don't want that. Like if nobody's been hurt, let the guy go. Like let
someone else, because you've raised the stakes. Everything is now much higher. If that guy does have a gun, he's now forced to shoot you. Like you don't know if he's got a gun or not.
Well, and again, we're speaking speculatively here, but just let's say he walks into this bathroom, sees a guy, it sounds like he was just opening the church. So the guy wasn't supposed to be there. I understand being a little scared. Like I would be like, whoa, what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
Right. But the right reaction is probably to say, get the heck out of here. You're not supposed to be here. You get out of here. We don't have a problem. Once you've pulled the gun, now you've escalated the situation. So now this guy who is hiding out in the bathroom now feels like his life is in danger. So now he's going to be fighting for his life. And he's wrong to be there. There's all these things. But pulling a gun when we're not in a lethal situation yet means we are the ones that or he's the one who, escalated the situation. Now, again, we don't know. Maybe the guy was attacking him. We don't know. But again, if he's attacking him, you pull the gun and you pull the trigger and you make sure this thing is over with. Probably
you got to stop the threat. Yeah, stop the threat.
You got to stop the threat. If there's a threat, you stop the threat. If there's not a threat, you don't pull your gun. And
it's different too, I would say, than if you walk into your house and you find some guy hiding in your bathroom. Like a house is different than a business. I mean, a church is basically a place of, it's a place of worship, but it's not the same as your home. Yeah.
Well, guy hiding in a church is probably hiding because he needs to hide. We don't know.
Right.
Guy hiding in your house, the chances that he is there to cause you harm are much higher.
Exactly.
Which again is going on the principle of the Old Testament law. There's a reason why somebody's breaking into your house in the day. You're not supposed to kill him, right? You're supposed to be like, get the heck out of here. You're stealing stuff. Because the assumption if he's robbing you or burglarizing your house during the day, it's because he just wants stuff. If he burglarizes your house at night, you are there and you're asleep, and you have to assume that he's probably there to cause you and your family harm. And so you're allowed to use lethal force. Now, I would say that the principle is what's the issue there. But man, if somebody's hiding out in my house, the only reason to be in my house.
Would you know that they're hiding out? You wouldn't. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you find someone in your house. Are they there to rape your wife or kids? Are they there to kill you? Are they there to, they're in your house?
Because a burglar gets the stuff and gets out of there before you get home, because that's the game. A guy who stays is probably there to cause you harm, and it's a whole different situation. Now, I've got questions on this guy in the Texas church. He's hiding out. Was he? What were the cops chasing him for? Was he on PCP? Like, I got all these questions. But
I thought it said, let me go back here. No, it just says a man who police say was fleeing from law enforcement and hid in the church overnight. So he was fleeing. In this particular article on USA Today, it doesn't say what he was fleeing for.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think part of it too is that whole, Texas has a very different mentality than like here in California, where you're going to jail, but in Texas, it's kind of like, well, we're Texans, and of course we're going to defend our property. We're going to defend our bathroom, our church bathroom. It's like, Oh, we're going to basically be cops now. We're going to help out the police. What, dude? That's not your role.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not. It's not your role. Why care about it? Yeah. Someone's hiding out here. Fine. You need to go. Cops have already been notified. Start running, man.
Don't do the cops' job for them. It is your job to defend yourself and your family. It is not your job to catch bad guys, right? And so let the cops do their work. You do your work of defense and don't go beyond it. And it's really tragic because this guy lost his life, and it's heartbreaking. And somebody else lost their life. It's, man.
Yeah.
Oh, really, really sad. So probably comes back to train everybody, man. We got to be training often, probably daily. I've got to do some dry fire practice now, especially with a new gun. I've got to do some practice in dry fire, draw and shoot fast kind of deal. Train everybody. Make good decisions with what you got. But
and just remember, stuff's not worth taking a life or potentially having your life taken.
Exactly.
Like, it's just not. I mean, it's stuff. Take it. And we've kind of talked too about how in the riots, when those looters were looting businesses, do you defend your business? Well, now it's a little bit different too. You're not just taking stuff. You're literally destroying my entire business. Do I stop and defend it? I don't know that I do, only because in my mind, I know how to create money out of thin air, right? It's a little bit different than someone who sells physical goods in a retail environment. And you've now stolen their entire inventory. Yeah. How are they going to go buy more inventory?
Yeah.
I get that, but
selling a service means that I don't necessarily have materials that I have to protect, but man, people don't understand too, when you're in retail and your markup in some cases is only 10%. I mean, some things it's even less. You might have 20% on some things. So your money, like your investment, is literally in all of this physical stuff. And I know that people are talking during the riots, they're like, oh, but insurance is going to cover that. And I'm like, first of all, you have no idea. In a lot of cases, insurance wasn't covering a lot of this stuff. Second, if you're in a retail business and even if you're going to have insurance cover every to the dollar, everything that was taken, it still means your business is shut down until you've got to wait for the claim to be processed. You've got to get the building fixed. You got to get the product. You might be months. You could get every dollar back and still go out of business because you effectively had to be closed. You couldn't do. So I say to the person who, whatever, you're a trash man, you're a janitor, you're a welder, whatever. Imagine okay, so all of a sudden all of your tools are gone and you are not allowed to work for 3 months, which some people are unfortunately experiencing because of other things. You could go out of Newsom. Yeah, because of freaking Newsom. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other. Yeah. Did you see the thing where Cuomo was dancing?
Yes.
That
at Times Square. Everyone else stay home, but I'm going to dance here in Times Square.
That's tyrants, man. It's just straight tyranny. And I wish people would get mad enough about it.
Well, it's New York. They don't have guns.
Oh, yes.
What are they going to do?
True.
Who has all the guns there? Cops. Government.
Yeah. Or did you see, I don't know if you saw where there's a church in Canada that is all of the elders are being fined, called to court for having meetings. And they issued this, do you see this where they issued this blistering statement where they're like, if you're going to say that church is non-essential, you're essentially saying that the atoning work of Christ is non-essential, which is public blasphemy. And we're not going to stand for it. It was so beautiful. And I'm like, this is the most kick-ass statement I have maybe ever heard since the Reformation. And it was awesome. But what are they going to raid? Well, and actually, I think it was also in Canada where a family getting together, 6 people getting together, got raided by the cops. And
was that in Canada?
That one might not have been Canada. I wanted to say it was. No, that one might have been. There's more than one of those, but neighbors called them in, and it was only 6 people. And I watched the video and I can't remember where it was. I thought it was Canada. There's been more than one though. There was the one in New York where it was the Jewish It was like a Hebrew, what do you call it, meeting. It was like not a temple meeting. It was not a temple. That got raided in New York City, I think. But it was definitely New York. Oh man.
Here's okay. So this is why it's dicey here in California. So this was published. I'm getting this off of foxla.com, published 3 days ago. Orange County, California, a local bar owner suspected of repeatedly keeping his business open during the pandemic is facing criminal charges. Roland Barrera, the owner of Westland Bar in Costa Mesa, is being charged with misdemeanor violating and neglecting to obey a lawful order and regulation. According to a press release from Orange County DA Todd Spitzer's office. So in other words, burn Todd Spitzer to the ground in this next election. Barrera kept his business open despite repeated attempts by law enforcement and city code enforcement officials to educate the bar owner on the law and seek voluntary compliance with the non-essential business curfew order. He basically wouldn't close down at 10 o'clock at night. He didn't care if his patrons used masks or not, and he didn't care about social distancing. He's running a business.
Yeah.
He's feeding his family.
Yep.
I mean, he could be the most evil guy in the world for all I know, but how are you telling him he's non-essential? He's essential to somebody, at least to himself. He's essential to his family. If convicted, by the way, one of his waitresses also got arrested because she wouldn't let the officers in. Luisa Moraro, or however you say her name, is accused of grabbing a uniformed officer and physically tried to prevent the officer from entering the bar. So she gets arrested. Both of them can face up to a year in jail. This is while currently a judge has ordered the sheriff of Orange County to release half of the people because of COVID. So on one hand, you got to release half the people, but if you're trying to feed your family, if you're trying to keep your employees gainfully employed, we're going to send you to jail.
I don't even know what to say.
See, our sheriff said he's not going to enforce the rules. The problem is that doesn't mean the cities won't enforce them. We got multiple police departments. We got police on top of police here in California. So, like, I live in a city that's unincorporated. So we got the sheriff. However, we also have the CHP, California Highway Patrol. This is our version of state troopers, right? We don't have state troopers. We got chips. They can monitor and they drive through our neighborhoods as well. But all of the businesses that we use are in Seal Beach. Like at the end of my street is technically Seal Beach. Seal Beach has its own police department. They're basically the Gestapo. Like, it doesn't matter that the Orange County Sheriff said, this is ridiculous, we're not going to enforce it. We're still screwed because of all these tyrants.
And it is straight tyranny. So
I am reminded. Todd Spitzer, though, he needs to be ejected from office. We need to vote him out. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Some dude's trying to run his business and you're going to throw him in jail.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
What verse came to mind is Psalm 94:20, where it says, "Can wicked rulers be allied with you, those who frame injustice by statute?" Essentially saying that, like, a wicked ruler cannot be allied with God because what they're doing is essentially creating injustice with their laws. They're doing the opposite of what they're supposed to do. But a guy like this, technically it's a mandate. It's not even a law.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I keep bringing up. They were like, well, you got to follow the law. And I'm like, okay, it's not a law. It's a mandate. Show me where a legislative body passed this. And I'll probably just say, and there's where they violated the Constitution. But you can't even show us that, which tells us everything. We're almost a year into this mess, man.
Yep.
Talking about a year of emergency mandates. Don't tell me that if it was legitimate, they couldn't create a law. They're not creating a law. The whole point is they're doing this outside of the Constitution. Be angry.
Yeah.
Man, what a time. So anyway, I also got some scotch for Christmas, which has been encouraging. And I got to tell you, I ended up having a really good year. I'm mad about all this stuff, but God has blessed me this year. I'm actually having really happy times. So I just feel bad for guys like, what was the guy's name who was trying to just feed his family, have his bar open past 10, and he and his waitress are facing jail time. Can you imagine a waitress? Think about like what a waitress is making.
Think about how much money you're going to have to come up with just to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like,
how they plan it.
Just to fight this. And that's how they win. Like literally, I don't know if I mentioned this on this podcast, but a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, just served a couple of years in Club Fed. And I knew he was, I knew the entire situation intimately. I worked at the company. He wasn't an owner at the company. He was the operations director. I knew everything they were doing was legit. I literally read everything that came down from the court and also from the prosecutors, who I believe it was the Department of Justice that came after him. They literally filed it like a month before the statutes would have run out. And I read the lies. I literally read the lies from the prosecutors because I'm like, none of this is true. I worked there. They are literally lying to the court. And the owner who they really wanted to go after, they froze all of his assets, all of his money. So when his attorney went to the prosecutor and said, okay, we need some of his money back. He needs to be able to live. He's got a kid, and he needs to pay for, his mortgage. He needs to pay for us. And the prosecutor goes, how do you think I win my cases? I'm not giving him any money back. Like, that's their MO. Yeah. Take all your resources and then you're screwed.
Well, and think about that's guilty until proven innocent, right? So
prosecutorial immunity. They can lie to the court and get away with it.
They can lie to the court, but if they can freeze your assets before you've been proven guilty in a court of law, they're treating you as if you're guilty before you're, before you've actually been proven guilty. It's not good, man.
And by the way, he was so grateful. So my buddy took a plea deal, and that's why he only had to do 2 years in Club Fed. He goes, there are so many people at the jail that I was at who didn't take plea deals, and they're doing, 7 to 15 year sentences. And he goes, I'm talking about, because he was in there with senators. I mean, it was all white collar stuff, right? So he was in there with senators. He was in there with a lot of doctors. Like one doctor was this really supposedly, soft spoken guy. He was, he ran a pain management, business, a pain management doctor. And one of his patients OD'd off of opium, who apparently was a doctor shopper and would just go around getting, opioids and all that stuff. And they decided to take him down. He's a doctor. That's what he does. Like, if I were a doctor, it's like, well, then I don't want to ever issue this stuff because you guys are going to come after me for it. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Oh, it's the world we're in, man.
It is.
Lack of justice. It's not good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Well, we got anything happy to end on?
Why don't you tell them what's going on at Lake Erie's? Because I got a jam here myself.
Oh, you're good. All right. So I will say we do have some more classes coming in. We're going to do some open-handed, just kind of grappling classes, self-defense, like basic kind of, I wouldn't say Krav Maga, but that kind of style. Immediately practical self-defense so that you got ways to defend yourself both with firearms and without. So check it out. So that's rolling out really soon. Go to learms.net. Also, not a bad time to be signing up for concealed carry classes. Just check us out, learms.net. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Cool. All right, guys. We'll be back next week. We'll talk to you then. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
You've been listening to the From Concealment Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.